instead of MVP, SLC. Simple, lovable, complete. Because oftentimes what we'll do with MVP is we'll roll a wheel out and go, look at that, MVP. And I'm going, what do I do with a wheel?
Yeah, no.
I don't know what to do with that, right?
Yeah.
Right, and then we'll add a stick to the wheel. Still don't know, right? And we'll add a couple versus SLC. Hey, look at that skateboard. It's a thing with wheels you can move from one place to the next. I can use it. It's lovable. It brings joy. It's complete. It's really functional. Now I add a stick to it and a handle. Oh, look at that scooter, right? Let's put a motor on that. Yeah. Let's wrap a shell around that. Let's look at that car, right? You've gone from skateboard to car in a few steps because the first thing was actually complete and usable, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, you could see the vision for the thing that is the ultimate goal.
Welcome to Church 3.0, presented by Apollos, a podcast where we explore the nuances of modern Christian culture and the challenges of cultivating community while maintaining impact and relevance in the church. Join Tyler Vance, COO of Apollos, as he talks to church leaders from around the world to gain a deeper understanding of the Christian faith in a modern context. Push boundaries, change lives, create a more hopeful future.
Hey guys, thank you for jumping in with us today. I've got a super special friend joining. His name is Luke Dooley. Luke leads Ocean. He leads a brand new initiative that he's putting together called Banded, and I wanted you guys to hear from him today. He'll give the background on all the things and all the ways that you're connected, but Luke is a hyper connector in the church space. I'm sure many of you, if you ask around, you won't get 2 or 3 people away from finding someone that knows Luke, and so it's an honor that you'd spend some time and hang out with us today.
Thanks, man. I'm really excited to be here with you guys. Love what you're up to, and it's gonna be a fun conversation. Yeah,
I hope so. You determine that. If you know, no pressure. Yeah. I abdicate all responsibility right out of the gate from that.
That's good.
That's good leadership, isn't it?
It's fair.
Yeah. Okay. Did someone tell you to say that's fair?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's one of my triggers.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like you don't love that?
It's like my apathetic response, fair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't want to have this conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, or the other one I use is sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's when at the end of the day, a little insight. If you send me something, I'm sure, that means I could care less.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah. It's like the old interesting.
Yeah.
It's just a signal to move on.
Oh,
maybe right now should we
interesting.
Should we Our producers over here are thinking maybe we should start over.
So Luke, talk about. I know you're in a new thing. Talk about Ocean for a minute. The genesis of Ocean. Why that was, what it was, and kind of fill in some gaps there.
Totally. So first thing I want to call out on that is that I did not start Ocean. Okay. You didn't say that. I always go out of my way to make sure that that's known and correct and clear. Ocean. At this time, when this comes out, is about 10 and a half years old, probably. I've been at Ocean for 7.5, 8 years of that time. And so it was sort of a wonderful idea of some amazing entrepreneurs in Cincinnati. I call it kind of like a happy little experiment that worked and lived on. And a couple years in, the guy that was leading it was sort of seeking someone to come in and really, he was leading as a volunteer and seeking someone to come in and really kind of learn from him and serve alongside him for a couple years and eventually kind of overlap and succeed him. And I was really fortunate to be in a group of folks that mutual friends that introduced us. And so I was able to move home from Nashville, where I was at the time, back home to Cincinnati, where I live now and where Ocean has been headquartered and been around for a long time. So Ocean was really born out of the heart of, I would say 2 things, the local church and entrepreneurs who had a need. The need the entrepreneurs were experiencing was a need of togetherness, a need of community, a need of being around peers and like-minded, ambitious leaders that wanted to go about doing an exciting thing, an entrepreneurial venture, but doing it in a way that feels different.
Yeah.
And so, and then a church that was already entrepreneurial in nature, a church that was doing things that already felt innovative and entrepreneurial and open-handed and generous. And it was really out of that generosity that they were able to sort of realize, hey, there's a bunch of entrepreneurs hanging around our space. Space is open Monday through Saturday, kind of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. kind of a deal, right? Yeah. It's like they're there, and the coffee's free, and the Wi-Fi's good, and the seats are comfortable, and there's places to walk around when you're on calls. And
they're entrepreneurs. They can't afford their own office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, well, there's a bunch of them. And so credit to that church and the pastor, Brian Tome in Cincinnati, kind of going like, there's something happening here, and I should invest in that. I should learn from these people and also pour into them. So I think he was genuinely curious about what's a startup? What is a venture-backed SaaS product? Like, what are you talking about, right? I don't even know what those things are. And then also, I think in the course of that, like, man, I can pour into these people. Yeah. And so like a great disciple maker, invited them into his space and into his life and in his calendar and his schedule, and eventually compelled them to go out and to live out the things that they had talked about. And the outflow of what began as a small group launched into a large gathering, a regular, consistent community, which eventually gave way to an established, independent 501c3 nonprofit called Ocean that's been around for, like I said, about 10.5 years at this point.
You just made a correlation. Entrepreneurship is like discipleship.
Yeah.
Well, that's such a powerful thought to unpack.
Yeah, I think it can be, right?
Sure.
Sure. I think in that instance it was, right?
Yeah.
What the realization was, hey, there's this journey that we went on as disciples of Jesus to better understand how to live fully. And live in this story of God, and to play my role in that story, and to live out of the overflow of the good, the good life of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And then as I look at the entrepreneurial cultural narrative of the day, especially back then, it was pretty antithetical to a lot of that, right? Yeah. I'll use the phrase like hustle porn dominated the day, right?
Okay.
Like,
yes.
Hustle, grind, win at all costs. So there was this narrative that's like, hey, entrepreneur, the thing that you need to go do is win at all costs, and lay down on, like, let us being society, culture, whatever, right? Yeah. Let us define what success looks like for you.
Yeah.
And it looks like magazine covers and fancy cars and, big exits and Silicon Valley, skyscrapers and big offices and WeWork, and this is success. Think about that era of entrepreneurship, 12, 13.
And
14.
It also meant losing your family.
Yeah, and so we'll define success. You go get it at all costs so you can return your value multiple to your investors, right? And satisfy the societal need of your innovative spirit, because that's what it is like society needs the innovative spirit that you offer. So we'll extract all we can from you, including your health, your family, your relationships, your faith, right? But as long as we get that value multiple up at the end, and that was kind of the pop narrative of that day. Like, no one was saying it like that, but boy, they were behaving that way.
Yeah.
Right? And then you had this small group of entrepreneurs, in Cincinnati and in some other places. Is really kind of the beginning of like a germination of some seeds nationally for communities like this that were kind of going like, I don't know. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's, these folks were going like, we just learned this thing of the way of Jesus and living out of the overflow of the good life of the gospel, the kingdom, right? And now there's this empire narrative that is directly in combat with that kingdom narrative. And what if we could somehow, line those things up, align these things and say, there's a better way, there's a different way. And that's really what gave rise to Unpolished, and that gave rise to Ocean, 10 plus years ago.
And you've seen some incredible stories out of that, right?
Oh man, so many cool outcomes, and some of them the classic outcomes that you would expect: big exits and awesome innovations and jobs created and best workplace in XYZ city and 40 under 40 Forbes of winners, all these kind of cool like cultural success stories, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, all kinds of other, just small wins of like entrepreneurs that survived, marriages. I say small wins. It's not a small win. The real wins. Right? Marriages that survived, or businesses that didn't launch because an entrepreneur realized, oh man, I'm not built for this. God is not calling me to this.
Yeah.
Something else inside of me was calling me to this. Ego, pride, ambition, whatever. This is not right for me. So I'm going to get out before it's too late, before I've taken investor
before
dollars,
there's a distraction. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, man, sometimes some of the best wins have been like an entrepreneur that had an awakening and goes, I don't think this is the season for me to do this thing. So many neat, individual stories you could begin to unpack, weave throughout that. But really, all of that is encompassed by a community of, givers and of mentors and of facilitators and passionate leaders that came around a community of entrepreneurs that were just brave enough to step into that landscape of entrepreneurship and say, I think I just want to do this differently. And what's interesting about Ocean for 10 years is like, while we've had a distinct faith perspective, like, we are a Christian, organization that's going to lead out with the person of Jesus. And it's through and through who we are and who our team is and our values and our culture and how we're going to teach and how we're going to lead and talk about entrepreneurship. We've never said, and so as a result, you need to believe everything we believe to come be a part of this community. You need to affirm our statement of faith. You need to, be exactly who we need you to be in order to care for you. No, what we've said is like, we're going to be unabashedly who we are. And then
you're welcome to join us.
Invite you to come be unabashedly who you are. And let's just see what the Holy Spirit might want to do with that thing. Yeah. And so some of my favorite stories over the years are, people that have applied for Ocean Accelerator. Ocean Accelerator is a, early stage tech startup accelerator program that was getting very early stage founders and application based. You'd get a bunch of applications from all over the world, winnow that down to a small few that you could select that would get funding and all this programming and all this kind of stuff. And you inevitably every year there'd be someone in that application cycle that would say something like, "Hey, I just want to call out. I'm not a Christian. I know you guys are a Christian organization." Like, interesting. So why are you applying to a faith-based accelerator if that's not your personal story? Well, you guys are the only community I'm hearing right now talk about entrepreneurial care in the way you are, or founder health in the way you are, or mitigating isolation, which is a phrase we've used. It's been a big part of my life over the years, like mitigating isolation. It's like, well, okay, well, why is that attractive to you? Well, this is my second startup. My first one cost me the most important relationship in my life, and it failed. And so the relationship failed and the startup failed. And I know that on the second one, if I have any hope of having a life that is purpose-filled and is well-rounded relationally, I have to figure out a better way to manage this situation, this startup. It's like, oh, interesting. And then just on and on and on. So many interesting conversations like that over the years that have just been cool wins.
Yeah. How do you think that parallels to what the church needs to do different? I'm going to pivot hard there because you're talking about entrepreneurs, and obviously we've seen as a society, entrepreneurs needed a hard pivot. And I think we might be at a time where the church needs a hard pivot. Agree, disagree? I choked him up. That's what happened.
I agree. The church, I think, it is experiencing already a pivot.
Ripe for disruption is a phrase that is there, right?
And what's funny is, like, disruption for me in the church looks like a return to ancient ways.
Oh, man. Why?
Not ancient methodologies.
No. Just why? Why?
Oh, because I think, especially in the West, and I'm very cognizant to call out, like, my perspective, and maybe collectively, like, our perspective tends to skew to the West because that's where we live, and that's the church we see on a regular basis.
It's a fair worldview to have for our
for
our situation.
I think the church has, like any market or industry, there's this notion that like, man, we got to always take the next hill. We got to pursue the next thing. We got to like move, into the next era or chapter or whatever of our work or of our, mission. And, the old phrase is like in the local church or in the global church, like the mission never changes, but the methodology has to change. Yeah. Right. Like the message never changes, but the modality must. And sometimes I think you can lose the nuance in that over time. So when I say like innovation and disruption for the church in today's moment looks like a return to ancient ways, I really just mean like simple practices and habits that are the core bedrock of spiritual formation, of disciple making, of church planting. My friend Ben, he's my co-founder in this new work we're doing called Bandit. He has this awesome phrase he says, if you plant a church, you might get disciples. And if you make disciples, you will always get the church. And so I think this return to, for the church, innovation, or disruption looks like, let's get back to our first love, our first calling, our first mandate. Go and make disciples.
Oh, golly. That's so good. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
I love when he says it, every time he says it.
Yeah. It just makes like, how do you wrestle with that? Like, give me space to wrestle with that for a minute, so I'm going to deflect to you. How do you wrestle with that? Because you just put this thing deep in my soul.
I think you're seeing some really positive outflows and behaviors and patterns, especially among young people. Mm-hmm. My friend Grant Skeldon, who would be an amazing person to have on this conversation with you someday, he's seeing disciple making and an authentic desire and a craving for, I want to be mentored. I want to be discipled. I want to. He works with young leaders, right? Next gen leaders, and they're coming to him going, Grant, we're hungry for more. Right. This is a generation, like any generation, that, the pendulum always swings, right? Mm-hmm. And so like a generation that is growing up on glitz and glamour and media and celebrity and all this stuff is going to go to another direction on that pendulum. It's going to come to, man, I'm craving depth and simplicity and norms and health where I've seen mishealth. And so I think there's this authentic desire in that generation. And then I think, again, getting back out of that Western perspective, I think when you look at the global church narrative, when you look at what's happening in Korea, when you look at what's happening in Peru, when you look at what's happening in South America and other regions, even in Great Britain, right? There's this narrative of like, the church is dead in Britain. Go sit in HTB. Go watch a line form around the block for Alpha over and over and over again at churches throughout Great Britain. Yeah. And there's this authentic desire for something more, for a spiritual encounter, for depth. And the way, how you feed that through habits, through practices, right? Through spiritual activity. And I think this is why we're seeing like people like John Mark Comer, become such a leading voice, right? Or John Tyson, people like this become leading voices in our day that are not flashy. They are not. It's a different vibe, and that again, that is not to say one thing is bad and another thing is better, and that is not to say. I think the logical conclusion is, or the logical next question is, which just happens you guys seem to answer really well, is like, well, then how do we enable more of that?
Sure.
How do we go enable more habits and practices and norms of spiritual outfitting and growth,
Yes. We and thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, Apollos, like, we absolutely want to drive those community experiences, those daily spiritual habits. Like we see the value and the data behind those experiences doing the thing really well. Actually, like, this is an interesting, and I'm going to say this in the context of, like, I am guilty party of spending my adult life building the machine that is represented as the local church today. Like, and so I have more skin in the game of how it exists today than most, right? But I do think as a church, anytime we see like big cultural shifts, we're delayed in making changes. And then when we make change, we swing really big, right? And so I know as a parent, I have kids that want to be technically connected. They want to be connected through technology. But they still really want their local church experience as it exists.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, they do want to be invested in. They want to be grown. Like, they're hungry for deep experiences. And thankfully, my son's like small group leader lives in our neighborhood.
Amazing.
Right? It's not an unstrategic choice as a parent, right? But like, hey, dude, like, if you act like an idiot, you're going over to his house. And like, there's this parenting in community, right? These are the things that I think the local church desires to have.
Yeah. That's like the parish, this parish model even, like, is what you're describing in your neighborhood.
Yes.
There are a number of families in our neighborhood and a spiritual leader in that neighborhood who our children are learning from or being formed by, and every parent, by the way, that they encounter. So discipleship's this team sport in this way.
Yes.
And we're just creating more opportunities for intersection for that to happen. Because at the end of the day, discipleship is just being invited into someone else's life, right? I heard it said last week at an event that, you know, friendship or mentorship is putting a space for you on my calendar, and discipleship is including you in my calendar.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Right? So like, mentorship is, hey, Tyler, I can make space for you Tuesday night at 7.
Yeah.
Let's go out and have a drink, or, you know, hang out or get dinner or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And discipleship is, I'm running, you know, an hour and a half away to pick up something I bought on Facebook Marketplace, and I'm going, hey, Tyler, what are you doing this afternoon, dude? Yep. You want to ride? This is going to sound really dumb. You want to ride in the car for 3 hours?
No. That's exactly it, right? It's fascinating. And I think, Luke, you and I have talked about this, but like, my son is mentored by a home builder. He wants to build homes, right?
Yeah.
What does that mentorship look like? It's, hey, go ride around in the car with me everywhere, because that's what I do every day. And most people hear that, and they hear like he's being mentored by a home builder, and they assume, oh, he must be shoveling dirt somewhere or hammering nails in somewhere. And it's like, no, he's riding in the truck with the owner.
Yeah.
Because that's the mentorship. It's the space of it. He's not learning the skill set. He's learning the value. And it's different.
Yeah.
You know? So.
It's good.
You get to interact with a ton of church leaders throughout the country. What are the themes that are most common that you see? And where are the places where, if you could apply fast-acting, changing principles, you would apply fast-acting, changing principles, and what would they be? So first off, what are the trends you're seeing?
There's a lot of people that have done deep research around trends smarter than me.
There are, and I'm not asking you to be Barna.
Yeah.
But you do have a very unique perspective. You've worked in a very unique so I'm not also going to give you permission to get out of that because you're not the expert when God has clearly given you something more.
Well, I believe I think a trend that you often see is, and perhaps it's well established at this point, is churches they don't like to collaborate, and they don't like to innovate.
Yeah.
And maybe that's trite. Maybe that's like, oh, that used to be, or what. I still think you see quite a bit of scarcity mentality, of protection of territory, of lack of a desire to really collaborate. And I mean more than like, oh, we did an Easter egg hunt together with the church across town, right? But like that next level of transformative, true collaboration. And then I think innovation. I think innovation is scary for churches. I think there's a lot of myths around innovation that we believe, like, oh, it's this huge, giant leap forward, or it's so capital intensive, or whatever, right? And the reality is, like, there's all these truths behind that myth, behind those myths that would say otherwise. Like innovation's not one huge decision that changes everything. It's a series of small bets aligned with a strategy. So oftentimes, an inability to innovate is really a strategy problem, not a risk problem, or not a resource problem. It's, I don't have a clearly developed strategy that says that we're here and we want to get down here. So I'll make a series of small bets to move us there. And we believe this lie that, like, oh, I got to, like, overhaul everything, and we got to rip out all the tools and put all new ones in. Like, no, it's not this one big thing. And in fact, by the time you've made a series of 40 small bets, the 41st one that feels like the one that is actually the big one doesn't even feel that big anymore. It's just another small bet that you've now data backed 40 times. We did this and it worked. We did this and it worked. We did this and it didn't. We're learning. And then eventually this thing that felt big 18 months ago. Right? But now, 40 bets in, now it doesn't feel big. In fact, now to your leadership team, to your elders, to your church, if you didn't do it, it would be like, what are you doing? Like, this is the obvious next thing we should go do. Why aren't we doing it?
Oh, Luke, I promise that I did not pay Luke to say this. This is like one of my ultimate church pet peeves is it's the idea that I must get to the completeness of the idea before I release the idea, and especially in the terms of technology, right?
Sure.
It's like, well, we need to do all of the change. We need to change all of our processes. We need to build every ounce of what could be available in the widget before we ever think about releasing the widget to public. And it's like, that's the dumbest idea ever.
Yeah, there's this great phrase in, like, the entrepreneurial world that says, if you don't look back 5 years later at your first drafts, and if you're not embarrassed by them, you waited too long to launch. Like, if you don't, 5 years after launch, don't look back at V1 and go, oh my gosh, that was bad. Then you waited too long. Right? And you want to blow a church leader's mind, oftentimes, go introduce the concept of an MVP to them.
Yes.
Right? And I don't mean that pejoratively. Like, genuinely, we've worked with a lot of church leaders over the years, and it's so helpful. It's like this, oh man, there's this methodology to mitigate what you just said. I don't have to have it all figured out. It doesn't have to all be, like, polished and picture perfect. And there can be this MVP approach. And actually, last year sometime I came across this Medium article, and so this is not my idea, right? Just disclaimer.
Fair.
But boy, it's so good, and I love sharing it now. Instead of MVP, SLC, simple, lovable, complete. Because oftentimes what we'll do with MVP is we'll roll a wheel out and go, look at that, MVP. And I'm going, what do I do with a wheel?
I
don't know what to do with that, right? Right. And then we'll add a stick to the wheel. Still don't know, right? And we'll add a couple versus SLC. Hey, look at that skateboard. It's a thing with wheels you can move from one place to the next. I can use it. It's lovable. It brings joy. It's complete. It's really functional. Now I add a stick to it and a handle. Oh, look at that scooter, right? Let's put a motor on that. Let's wrap a shell around that. Let's look at that car, right? You've gone from skateboard to car in a few steps because the first thing was actually complete and usable, right? And because of that, you could see the vision for the thing that is the ultimate goal. So how in our organizations, whether the church or technology organizations or whatever, right, the products and the things that we launch, can we think in these terms of, I'm gonna invest minimal resources, which is the MVP idea, minimal resources to get to something simple and lovable and usable and complete that I can then leverage.
Yeah.
Right. For future vision.
Oh, dude. And where we see it hardest is it's all these little nuances in church thing, right? It's the, well, we do it like this in our environment, whatever. And to your point, it's like in the Apollos ecosystem, like if you just gave people the opportunity to pray for each other every day, and that was the very first thing you launched, and you waited on your dumb idea 6 months, then what you're actually going to gain, and this is where a lot of people don't understand this, what you're actually going to gain is when you go back and add scripture reading as a part of a daily habit, you just got a free upgrade to something you've already paid for. Like, you're adding momentum on the fire at zero cost. And so if you release that all at once, hey, nobody's going to like navigate through it and find it all. Like if you slow drip those kind of digital campaigns, people are more adept to stay engaged because you're training them that it's going to be new.
Yeah. It's really hard to become a power user of a feature-rich environment.
Sure.
The power users often are
so
early adapters.
So good.
That are like, they're so in love with the V1 of the thing.
Yeah.
That when V2 comes out, they already know how to use it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like Evernote started as this huge ecosystem.
Right. Honestly, go jump into an ecosystem like that right now, and you feel like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Because it's been established for so long, and you always know some use case that's better than the way you're using it. And you're like, no matter what I do, I feel like I'm not getting enough out of this thing I'm paying for. Versus I'm going to choose, or I was an early adopter, and so I learned it along the way, or I'm going to choose to only use this one feature of this thing. And I'm going to just develop the habit of getting that one thing done inside of Evernote on a consistent basis.
Luke, how many?
I have two quick thoughts on that.
Okay, go ahead.
This idea of doing things on a consistent basis. So just today, I was in banded. The core offering of what we do is we have local peer groups, sort of a mastermind style peer group of business owners and entrepreneurs that gather for half day a month, connected to a national tribe. And then they're connected then to this offering of trips and experiences and curated events. And we're all on this journey together, right?
Yeah.
So one of the guys in our banner group this morning in Cincinnati, his name's John. John shared this idea on this theme of consistency. It's from a Jim Collins book. It's not good to great. It's like choosing to be great or something like that. It's another Collins
choosing
book.
Greatness.
Yes,
is that right?
I think it's that. I don't know. What another Collins book?
Yeah,
it's not good to great.
Something great.
Yes, right.
Blah blah.
SMAC, and it's just simple, methodical, and consistent. So John just launched a second location of the business he runs, and we're like, so what's that like? And he's like, well, now that it's up and running, it's good. Now it's easy. Like now that we've got the doors open, it's easy, at least for these first 6 months or so. We're like, what do you mean? He's like, I'm a big believer that when you open a new thing or when you start a new thing, you should have your first principles like very clear ordered well before you open those doors, right? And then once you know this is the thing that makes this tick, stick with it. Do it every day. Do it for long enough that you can prove that it's working or not working. And oftentimes what we want to do in any organization is tinker too soon, right? And so he shares this concept from Jim Collins, SMAC, simple, methodical, and consistent.
Yeah.
And every day there are these things that I'm going to do, and they're simple, and they're methodical, and they're consistent. And no matter what else I get done that day, I will always get those things done that day. And so think of that in the context of spiritual growth.
Yeah.
The simple, methodical, and consistent thing to do is to pray, right? Is to engage Scripture, is to engage gratitude, is to reflect, right? What are the simple, methodical, consistent things? Again, that are it's simple and lovable and complete first principles of spiritual growth.
Amen. Dude, one of the interesting things, and I've been a part of Apollos for a year now, so I've gotten a solid year under my belt, is the quickness of senior pastors to go back to the same goalpost or measurements they were using before. And this has been like a really fascinating thing to me, because we basically put a very powerful tool in their hands. And one of the funny things is, I actually heard this from a pastor who said their cohorts were failing because not every single person signed up for the cohort was commenting every day, because they needed the activity, the affirmation of activity, to prove value of activity. Right? How do you see people dealing with the change of when you move into digital, when you move into this more discipleship oriented, what are the goalposts that need to change for scoring?
I think the first thought that comes to mind is, like, fruit takes a while to grow.
Yeah.
And so what does it mean to trust the process? Is a common phrase right now, right? In sports or business and lots of places. What does it mean to trust the process long enough, and then to identify the outcomes that you are really desiring? And you're right. I think the temptation is to go, well, the outcomes that we're trained to desire are all the common ones we're used to, like affirmations or tangible things I can, feel and see right away. We live in a microwave society, right? Nickels and noses, like these are the things that, especially in the church, boy, this is what I'm trained to look for. And it's a new muscle. It's a shift in paradigm to shift that scorecard and to redefine in advance, what is it that are the outcomes that I'm wanting? And oftentimes we want to measure output.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
where we want output, or we're setting goals instead of setting leading indicators.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We want 100% of people to do these things every day. Okay. Good luck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
100% of people don't do anything.
Yeah.
Versus, man, we want this cadre of leaders in our environment to be deeply devoted to these things that we think will change their lives and radically alter their trajectory of their families and their neighborhoods and shape the culture of our church, because there's this ripple effect that happens.
Amen.
Right? When the inner life of a leader is changed. When the inner life of a leader is changed through the transformation of,
disciples,
learning to walk in the ways of Jesus, then it's like the who there is changed, and that affects now their mentality. That affects their emotions. That affects the way they're operating. And guess what flows out of all that? Our behaviors, our decision. We talk about the same stuff at Bandit and business groups, right? Yeah. We say who you are as a leader is 75% of leadership.
Yeah.
What you do as a leader is 25%.
Yep.
So we're going to major on the who. So we're going to major on self-awareness. We're going to major on growth. We're going to major on, emotional health, on physical health, on all these things, right? And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that the who is good. And then out of the who, right, out of the behaviors, or out of the emotions, out of the thoughts, out of the habits of that person, flow their behaviors, flow their decisions, flow the ways they operate, the ways they treat people, the ways they communicate, right? And all of those things then affect the outcomes of the business, the outcomes of the enterprise, the outcomes of the family, the church, the organization. And so what does it, getting back to the original question, what does it mean for a church to sort of change the scorecard? Man, what if we just selected a cohort or a cadre of individuals, identified a group of change makers, and we said, we're going to radically believe that the long obedience in the same direction of that group of people will radiate through our church like heat lamp and will change the temperature of this place.
Are you talking
spiritual temperature?
Are you talking like invest in 12 guys for 3 years kind of thing?
I don't know. It's an idea.
Okay.
There's this idea.
I've heard of it before. I think one of the I just think one of the heartbeats of the local church has always been the ability to let things grow in the process of simmering, right? And you talk about that a little bit of like, it's got to take some time. We are in a society, and maybe Luke, you and I's generation built the like Instagram the immediate. Maybe we were the ones responsible for, everything having to be 1 million views, or just big was the only option. And what you're saying is a little bit different than that. It's like it's a return back to like the value is in the people marinating over time.
For sure. I'm saying building a culture is a lot different than launching programs.
Yeah.
Every church that's ever tried to launch small groups the third week of September in America has always been frustrated at the outcome of that. It's like tale as old as time. It's kind of like a joke, right? Like I'm sure some are really good at it.
Sure.
We're doing a big small group push.
They start August 15th.
Exactly, right? We're doing a big small group push, and we want XYZ participants and this many groups launched, and here's the big strategy, and this is how we're going to go do it. And it's like, I'm going to assume all of these actions that a whole bunch of diverse people are going to take, and I'm going to pre-program the appropriate ways for them to take those actions, and I'm going to expect all of them to fall in line and to go to that table and fill out that card or click that QR code or scan that text or do that thing, and then find their thing and join it and show up consistently and fill out the feedback form. This is what we do. This is the entrepreneurial trap of I'm going to build a solution and I'm going to trust that solution and I'm going to keep my eye on it. I'm going to put, I do this analogy. I call it the problem, target, and the solution gun, right? And so something in our life, we become aware of a problem. And so people need to be connected in groups in our church. Circles are better than rows, right? And so here's this thing, and it's this problem that it's a target now. And so I'm going to go architect and put a whole bunch of resource into building a gun to chip away at that target.
Sure.
I'm going to nail it, right? And so while I'm head down building all those guns and creating all that resource, guess what's happening to a target? It's moving. And I start shooting, and I might be pinging the center of it and then the edge of it and then none of it. But I am so enamored by the gun that I have lost sight of the target.
Yes.
And why does the target move? Well, because culture changes, because seasons change, because global pandemics happen, because economic winds shift, all kinds of things cause a target to move, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that our eye needs to be on. So a culture says that's the thing that we're going to go be about always and forever until something, until Jesus tells us to do something different. And you know what I mean? And we're going to go be so consumed with the idea that people's lives are transformed when they find people of shared faith and shared ambition or shared life, and then they share experiences together. And boy, when they share those experiences, they build trust, and trust creates an environment for authenticity, and authenticity leads to vulnerability, which leads to transformation. And what's the drip out of that funnel? A disciple, right?
Yeah.
If the inputs are people pursuing the way of Jesus, right?
And
so that's different than saying we want a whole bunch of people to go do a thing. That's creating a hypothesis and not testing it, versus saying, man, we're going to do anything in our power to help people move into the arenas that we think and that they're telling us are where they want to go live, how they can live fully.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about ancient principles, and I would say thank you for highlighting that, because we would say ancient principles practiced over time are the most significant drivers of spiritual depth and discipline, right? And those would be prayer with others, time with God, in Scripture, and reflection on journaling, right, of gratitude. Those are the ancient things that we've seen and our expression of our world that move the needle further, more consistently over time. So thanks for highlighting that for us. We didn't even plan that, whether you intended that or not. Those are just the things that we see in the midst. Luke, thank you for hanging out today and time together. If you guys can't tell, like, the level and depth of thought is beyond what we could cram in any single conversation. I think every conversation of you and I's goes in such an unexpected direction. And I'm so thankful for it. And I appreciate you sitting down and hanging out with us today.
Happy to do it.
And investing your time. So
loved being here with you, man.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Have a great day.